Spooktober everyone! How are you all doing? Well, I hope. When thinking of what videos I wanted to make this October, I knew I had to make at least a couple top 10s, but on what subjects? Can't do top 10 Halloween movies, did that last year, and then it hit me. Top 10 jump scares. I'm placing chapters on this video that you can find in the description box. This is so before watching this video you can skip anything on this list that could potentially be a spoiler for you. No one likes a spoiled jump scare, and I'll get into that later. My 10th place jump scare comes from 2015's House LLC. Now, many of you know I have a disdain for the found footage genre, but I actually really enjoyed this film, and this scene especially. There is clever setup to this moment. Earlier in the film, we see the character doing another video diary entry where a figure enters the room. He thinks it's just one of his mates sleepwalking, but the audience knows better. The character dismisses it. So during this scene, as he is doing another entry, we expect something similar, but then it doesn't happen and that hype dies down until the scene starts up again and we see very clearly he is not alone in the room. But what will happen? Will it be like the clowns? Will this person merely stay still or suddenly look at him in a cutaway? We don't know. Well, the cutaway head turn does indeed happen, and then this scene becomes similar to number 9 in this video. You feel fear and anxiety for the character. Will the person move? Can he make it out of the room when they're so close to the door? Or if he closes his eyes, will it go away? Answer is, he's fucked. 9th jump scare on my list comes from 2003's Darkness Falls. If you have seen my top 10 horror villain masks video, then you'll already know why this is on my list. This scene plagued my nightmares for years and still kinda does. For as long as I can remember, I've been afraid of the dark to an extent. So to watch a film about a spirit that kills you when you're in the dark was definitely playing into my fears. I love the build-up in this scene. We're made aware something is present and it's moving around, but we don't know what it wants or why. I don't know why children in films feel safe hiding under the covers. If anything, it makes me feel even more vulnerable. This moment where the character's curiosity gets the better of him is just perfectly shot, and the lead-up helps. You might expect him to see nothing, or to see something standing over his bed or in the corner or on the ceiling, or even just something to pull the covers off him. But hovering directly in front of your face, that would catch anyone by surprise. Always freaks me out. This pale mask with alarmed, tormented eyes behind it is a disturbing sight, but I think what makes this scene even more effective is the subtle narrative. The thought that the character of the Tooth Fairy was patiently hovering over his blankets as if waiting for him to take a peek. She doesn't want to be seen, but she also wants her revenge. So the idea that she's almost playing a one-sided game of chicken before collecting the tooth and leaving is a terrifying thought. 8th jump scare on my list comes from 2010's Insidious.
Josh?
Insidious, like many horror films, is filled with jump scares. Some think that's bad. I love that fact. But I can only pick one, and I'm sure many might pick Lorraine seeing the red-faced demon behind Josh, the boy bursting through the wardrobe, or Tucker seeing the 2 women through his camera. We have many to choose from. But my favorite has to be this scene of the man charging at Renee. You'd naturally be terrified at the prospect of a stranger pacing angrily outside, but at least you're on the other side of the window, right? And that's why I love this moment. It's a false sense of security. You think the characters are safe because there is a tangible barrier separating Renee from the stranger. And to our surprise, turns out we're very wrong because he's actually a ghost, and ghosts can walk through walls. The moment he charges through the wall, you know anything goes and there's nowhere to run or hide at that moment. In 7th place is this scene from 2018's The Nun.
Sister, please.
For those who know me, I'm sure you'll be surprised to see the nun on this list, considering how vocal I've been about how much I loathe it, and that opinion still stands. But I still think this scene is worthy of being on this list, but it's complicated. The scene is great because it relies on misdirection for its jump scare, which is probably one of my favorite types of jump scares. We are being forced to focus on one thing, so we expect something to come out at us from that spot, to the point we don't expect something jumping out from somewhere completely different. What makes this complicated is that this scene appeared in the trailer for the film. When I first saw the trailer, despite knowing the film would be bad, which it was, the trailer looked good. Dark and creepy and scary, and when this scene played, I jumped out of my skin. While that's good, the problem is that meant the movie was now ruined for me. This was the only good and effective jump scare of the entire film, in my opinion, and it was ruined for me because they put it in the trailer and spoiled it for me. Meaning when I watched the film, I knew it was coming and I didn't react to it at all. Had they left their best moment out of the trailer, it would have become the only scene of the film I'd have loved. That being said, I actually think it copied a jump scare from another film on this list. Sixth jump scare comes from 2013's The Conjuring.
Wanna play hide and clap?
Again, so many great moments to choose from, but the clapping scene has to be my favorite. This scene is incredibly shot, and again, there is great build-up. Carolyn is in a situation where we are already aware of a threat being present. Put that in a setting that automatically makes you feel fear and claustrophobic, and it's a recipe for a good jump scare. No one really finds basements to be a cheerful place. Now make it a basement in the middle of the night in the pitch dark where you're suddenly locked in with something you can't see. Raise your hand if you're gonna either shit yourself or have a heart attack. She's backed into a corner, so we expect something to leap out at us the next moment she strikes a match and directs it into the dark basement. Was anyone expecting the hands of a child to appear behind her, mimicking the game she earlier played with her children? I sure didn't, and somehow the disembodied hands of a dead child in that moment seems more frightening than if a demon had jumped up in her vase and demanded her immortal soul. A brilliant jump scare that plays on our sense of vulnerability and defenselessness while using misdirection. My fifth place scare goes to 1975's Jaws. This has to be, at least in my opinion, the best jump scare of the entire film. It is so well crafted and completely takes the audience by surprise. This isn't misdirection, this is an unexpected jump scare. We know there's a killer shark in the water, so as we see the character diving in the water, the audience is on high alert, waiting for the moment that shark is going to pop out and eat him. How could anyone have expected that what we'd be confronted with instead was the head of one of the shark's recent victims? The character is terrified, and being that the audience is already amped up from the build-up of suspense, this moment sticks the landing on a solid jump scare. Even better still is the scene doesn't ease off right away. The character rushes to the surface, but he's still in shark territory and not too far from its recent dining experience. We're not yet relieved from anticipating the shark's appearance until he is safely out of the water. And I don't care if I was an expert or not, I am not diving in dangerous waters, especially not in the middle of the night, okay? Moving on to my fourth pick, I give you this scene from 2012's Sinister. First time I saw this, I was watching it at a friend's house. We knew something bad was about to happen. There's nothing in this shot to indicate a birthday party with balloons is around the corner. We're not sure where it's leading, but we know it's not good. My friend was so scared. He was hiding behind me, using me as a human shield, as if whatever was about to happen was dangerous for us, and if so, he was willing to sacrifice me to save himself. We ended up jumping so far, we nearly flew backwards through the wall. Food went flying, and our hearts were in our mouths and making a run for the door. The music, the found footage style, the silence, the lighting, all designed to keep as little out of the frame and focus your attention exactly where it wants. And when you see it, you do an Ethan Hawke and jump out of your skin because you're just not prepared for it. This jump scare wants you to know it's coming. It's using every technique to let the viewer know it's coming. It's even shooting it to make sure you are looking in the right place so you can't possibly miss it. And even with all that, there's still no preparing for it. Jump scare coming in third place comes from 2018's The Field Guide to Evil. This particular shot comes from the first short film in the horror anthology film, and it really fucked me up when I watched it. It was the first time in a long time where a scene made me actually scream. Much like the scene from Darkness Falls, we are confronted by something terrifying suddenly appearing right against the screen and right up in the character's face. This shot uses misdirection as its main function. We see a shape and shadow coming from the side, so we expect it's going to jump out from the side. We don't at all expect it to suddenly appear so prominently in a completely different place and so quickly. On top of that, the scene, like the Jaws moment, doesn't let up. Many jump scares are instantaneous and don't linger. This one does. First watching this scene, I screamed and was compelled to look away, but like most people would, I returned my gaze to see if it was safe to look. Turns out it wasn't. This face remains staring at the screen for an uncomfortably long time, and the longer it's there, the more my adrenaline was building. You just want it to go away so you can move on, but the scene doesn't let you have that luxury, making this one brief moment one I'm not likely to forget. My second place jump scare comes from 1990's The Exorcist III. Say what you will about this film, but it probably has one of the most iconic jump scares in horror film history. This scene has such a lengthy build-up, in fact nothing before it really gives any indication a jump scare is on the horizon. When I first watched it, I did not expect a jump scare. I thought it was one of those filler scenes that leads to the nurse going into the nurse's station and taking a call or greeting our lead officer in the scene. It's so quiet and benign that the sudden shift in music and the random appearance of a killer primed and ready for action is truly terrifying. I also believe the Nun jump scare took some inspiration from this particular shot. Both have slow length build-ups that result in a threatening character appearing from the side in a violent manner. Even in the Exorcist scene, the white outfit and the fact the face is covered with a white cloth, on first glance I actually thought it was someone dressed as a nun until I later realized it wasn't. But both of those shots have similarities to me that make me think one was inspired by the other. And my number one first place jump scare comes from 2017's Pengabdi Setan, also known as Satan's Slaves. This film and this scene in particular blew me away. It's a unique form of misdirection I've never encountered before in a horror film. Now, I'm not saying it's never been done, I'm just saying I've never seen it done, or at least not that I can remember. The scene is very clearly leading up to a jump scare. The trick and beauty is that we're bouncing between multiple scenes, and each scene is very clearly leading to a jump scare, but which is the one? It's like that pea under the shell game. Which shell is hiding the pea? Well, in this case, it's trying to anticipate which scene is going to be the one to get you and when will it happen. Even if it was just one scene by itself, we still wouldn't be able to pinpoint the exact moment the scare will take place. But add a couple scenes to the mix and it's impossible to detect until it's too late. It even drags a scene out for just long enough that you have time to even hypothesize that every scene will have a jump scare, but nope, it's just the one. But still no way of preparing for which or when. This was so incredible. I absolutely loved how this was shot. It felt fresh, creative, and terrifying. I enjoyed every heart-pounding second of it. And there you have my lengthy and detailed top 10 jump scares. I hope you have enjoyed watching this, and I hope that at least a couple of these moments made you jump, though I don't think it's ideal to watch a jump scare outside the context of a film, so hopefully you've already seen most of these. I really enjoyed getting to talk about these scenes and explain just why I like them, so now that I've had my fun, it's your turn. Comment below and share some of your favorite jump scares in films. I'd like to find out what makes you guys tick. That's it for this video. Thank you as always to my terrific and supportive patrons. You guys kick ass. I'm off to go watch some horror films, so I will catch you guys all in the next video. Bye guys!